Well, good morning everyone and welcome to Falkirk Council Licensing Board 21st of June. I'll just go through the Licensing Board. The members are myself, Convener Provost Robert Bissett, Councillor Brian Deakins, Deputy Convener, Deputy Provost David Balfour, Councillor Lorna Binney, Councillor Alf Kelly, Councillor James Kerr, Councillor Sarah Patrick, Councillor Jim Robertson, Councillor Ewan Steinbank and Councillor Ritchie. And the officers in attendance are Mr Moody, he's the clerk to the board, Mr Brian Douglas, Licensing Coordinator, Mrs Lindsay Fife, Licensing Standards Officer, Mr Thomas Ross, Licensing Standards Officer, Mrs Arlene Fraser, Committee Services Officer, Mr Jack Frawley, Committee Services Officer, and Ms Gemma MacArthur, Committee Services Officer, and we have Sergeant O'May from Police Scotland. So the first item is determination of form of hearings, and we'll go to Mr Moody for that.
Yes, thank you, Convener. And this refers to the power in the Act to allow the board to determine the form in which hearings will take place this morning. The practice of the board is that hearings take place partly in person and partly through the use of remote facilities. So both are available to parties appearing before the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Moody. Do we have any apologies?
Convener, we have apologies from Councillor Ritchie. She may be able to join us later in the morning, but she's unable to attend at the moment.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest?
Yeah,
Councillor Kelly.
Provost, I'm going to recuse myself from item 8, Alice Chaudhry, as I've already discussed matters not pertaining exactly to this, but in other ways, so I'm going to recuse myself from that.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Agenda item 4 is the minute of the meeting of the Licensing Board held on the 24th of May, which is pages 3 to 7 on your agenda. Can we agree that minute?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 5, which is the main bulk of the business today, is the application for provisional grant of a premises licence, pages 8 to 11 on your agendas. And it's Tesco Express Units 4 and 5, New Local Centre, Bellsdyke Road, Larbert.
Good morning, Your Honours. My name is Audrey Ferry and I'm appearing in this application.
Okay, good to hear from you. Have you received a copy of the report?
Yes, I have, Your Honour.
Okay, thank you. Mr Douglas will now present the report.
Thank you, Provost, and good morning, everybody. Board members, this item before you this morning relates to an application for the provisional grant of a premises licence for a Tesco Express, which will be located at Units 4 and 5 of the new local centre on Bellsdyke Road in Larbert. Turning to the substance of the report, in terms of background, members will be aware that when applications are made where the premises are yet to be or are in the course of being constructed or converted for use as licensed premises, if granted, the licence would not take effect until confirmed by the board, which is the case here this morning, as the premises, as I believe, are still being constructed. So at present, we only have the Section 50 for planning that's been submitted, and other Section 50s will follow before the licence is confirmed. Although it is current board policy to generally undertake a site visit in relation to applications for new or provisional licences, no site visit was undertaken as there wasn't anything for board members to see at the moment. Turning to premises layout plan, these are contained in the papers that members have before them this morning as Appendix 1D on page 33 of the agenda pack. The licensing objective statements submitted, disability access and facility statement and home delivery policy are also contained as appendices to the report in the agenda pack. As per our normal practices in terms of the notification, the application was notified to our various stakeholders and a notice was displayed on the premises, and we have received confirmation that it's been properly displayed for the full period. In terms of the consideration this morning, Section 23 of the Act requires the board to consider whether any of the statutory grounds for refusal apply, and if none of them applies, the board must grant the application, or if any of them applies, the board must refuse the application. So, in terms of the detail of the application, the applicant is PTLL Limited. The premises is a small supermarket located in a new local centre. It's single storey in composition and is contained in 2 out of 5 shopping units, I believe. And it consists of a sales area, a storage area, staff toilets and a shared car park and shared footpath. Can confirm that no objections or representations have been received, and the police have confirmed that the applicant has not been convicted of any relevant convictions. There is no antisocial behaviour report. The layout plan shows one accessible alcohol area, display area measuring 16.39 metres cubed, and a non-accessible area measuring 1.25 metres cubed. The applicant's submitted statement of licensing objectives demonstrates an excellent understanding of the licensing objectives and also includes several mitigation measures. As I've mentioned before, the Disability Access and Facilities Statement has been received and it's contained within the agenda pack, and we've received the Section 50 submitted for planning. The proposed operating hours are within the board's policy and are Monday to Sunday from 10 AM to 10 PM. The applicant does not seek a seasonal variation. And the board's licensing policy statement, as I'm sure all members are aware, requires that all new premises must have CCTV installed to address the licensing objective of preventing crime and disorder. And the applicant has confirmed that CCTV will be installed. And I'll pause at this moment. Provost, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Douglas. Would Ms. Ferry like to address the board, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Honours. Mr. Douglas has stolen my thunder by explaining to Your Honours a lot of what I might have said, so I will try and fill in some gaps. With me today are remotely Hardish Purawal and Michael Knight, both of Tesco. Hardish has many years' experience in retail and sale of alcohol, having worked for over 30 years with Tesco. She heads up the UK licensing team and is responsible for all Tesco's licences as their senior licensing manager. So this involves all aspects of alcohol retailing, from training for the 280,000 staff in the UK to compliance and working with the UK government on policy. She's chair of the Retail of Alcohol Standards Group, works closely with enforcement authorities and has built excellent relationships through partnership working. She's also a board director of Community Alcohol Partnerships, which works in local areas to reduce underage drinking in any identified area. So I'm simply presenting that to Your Honours by way of background to indicate what the seriousness with which Tesco deals with all its licences. Michael Knight is more on the operations side, so he's here in case you pose any questions to me which I can't answer. As you already know, this is a bespoke retail unit. I'm sure, although you haven't visited the site, Your Honours will be familiar with the location. The main alcohol display area is towards the rear of the store on the left-hand side of the entrance, and it's shown in teal on the plan. I'm told that's a colour. And there will also be a small inaccessible display area behind the kiosk, and that's really for spirits. The split between beers, wines and spirits and other goods is around about 14 out of 111 mods in the shop, and a mod is a unit of shelving. So there'll be a wide range of beers, wines and spirits available, including craft beers and gins. There will also be low and non-alcoholic products and soft drinks. Of course, the offer is likely to change seasonally. So this new store will result in the creation of around 250 new jobs, mainly part-time. There will be around 3 personal licence holders based at the store, including the premises manager, who's yet to be appointed. The statutory licensing hours will operate if Your Honours grant the application. The proposed opening hours generally will be 6 AM to 11 PM. All being well, the target opening date is January 2024, but of course that could slip, as these dates tend to. There will be full disabled access and facilities, and these are explained in the statement which has been lodged. But just sort of briefly, there will be 3 accessible parking spaces in addition to the 29 parking spaces and 6 cycle spaces. The aisles are wide enough for wheelchairs, as are doors and emergency exits. There will be a unisex disabled toilet available for colleagues and customers. Checkouts will be fitted with a hearing loop system. Assisted shops are offered and assistant dogs are allowed in all Tesco stores. So in terms of meeting the objectives, we have provided a statement, but I'd like to emphasise that Tesco has a robust approach to training staff. It invests heavily in staff training and in fact shares its training with neighbouring stores and other operators to encourage best practice. And I've already alluded to the work done by Hardish to facilitate that. Each new member of staff receives induction training. There's also twice yearly refresher training and any ad hoc refresher training which the manager deems appropriate. It doesn't just cover nuts and bolts of the law, it deals with practicalities, how colleagues would address underage sales, how they deal with difficult customers. And all of that is explained in the course of the training. Other measures: alcohol cannot go through checkouts without some form of action being taken. When alcohol is scanned, there's a checkout prompt which reminds the cashier to think 25 and to confirm whether or not the customer is over 18. Managers also have the ability to add messages to the checkouts so that if there's any news or updates, then staff can read that before they start their shift. So in addition to all of that, there will be a refusals register. That's standard practice in these stores. Tesco also strives to be part of a community, so as with all other stores, it will partner with local groups to support them, and there will be a community board at the front of the store. Just to indicate to your honours the types of organisations within your area with which Tesco has already partnered or donated: Falkirk Community Trust, various schools, Scout groups, the Scottish Waterways Trust and the Falkirk Muslim Forum have already benefited from Tesco donations. So just to summarise in terms of the objectives, there will be effective and responsible management of the premises, up-to-date training and supervision of staff, CCTV, enforcement of Challenge 25, adoption and sharing of best practice, full cooperation with the police and licensing standards officers, and disabled access and facilities. Now, of course, as this is a new application, your honours are quite entitled to consider the issue of over-provision. There is no over-provision area as such, but it seems to me that this will add to the facilities available in the area. It's a vacant site at present. It will provide a facility with parking for local people. The catchment area, I would suggest, is largely behind the site. In addition to residents, there are some local businesses in the area, and there are, of course, there's an M&S which is part of a hospital complex, relatively close. I would suggest that that is a different offering. Spar and Nisa have slightly shorter opening hours. Nisa has no parking, and the nearest equivalent seems to me is Sainsbury's, which probably has a similar offering, but it's about, depending on the speed, about 15 to 20 minutes walk away. So there are no objections from the police or from licensing standards officers or from local residents, which I would suggest is significant. So it doesn't seem to me that over-provision is an issue here, but of course that's entirely a matter for your honours. As your Clerk's report says, you do have to consider the grounds for refusal. They're set out in section 23. If you find that none applies, then you must grant the application. So in my submission, standing the information which I provided on behalf of the applicants in respect of the proposed premises and their location, the training provided by the applicants, the other measures to address the licensing objectives, it doesn't seem to me that any of the objectives is challenged here. There's no information to suggest that the premises are unsuitable for the sale of alcohol, and on my submission, the addition of these premises would not result in overprovision. So I'm very happy to move grant for what I think will be an excellent store, and I'm very happy to answer any questions which you may have.
Thank you, Ms Ferry, for that very comprehensive and excellent report. So we'll now go to members and ask if any questions for Ms Ferry. Councillor Kerr.
Thank you very much, Provost. With regards to over provision, and I understand what you're saying, this is a vacant site. There's nothing there at all. Do the people in the surrounding area know what's actually coming?
Your Honour, neighbour notification was completed in terms of the statute, and a site notice was displayed for the statutory period, and I think that's been confirmed by the Licensing Standards Officer and is confirmed as part of your report. So there would also be notification on the council website. So yes, I would say that people in the local area would be aware of it.
Okay, my second point is with regards to the units, 5 units, will these, I don't know if it's appropriate, 4 and 5 is going to be for Tesco's. Will the rest of the units be built at the same time? Do you know?
I'm not in a position to answer that question. I don't know if you are. I mean, I think it's all part of the same. Is the landlord developer is the way with these projects is, you know, they're responsible for the building, and then when the building reaches a certain stage, it will be handed over to the tenants. I don't know who the other tenants are as yet. But what I would say is that, you know, given the number of parking spaces, you do tend to find that if you have an anchor tenant like Tesco, then other retailers will follow. But that's just my guess, educated guess.
Thanks, Provost.
Thanks, Councillor Kerr. We'll now go to Councillor Deputy Convener Deacon.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question is Appendix 1I, which is page 42 in the report, which is your alcohol policy delivery statement. First of all, I went to the link on it. It doesn't seem to work. However, I did manage to find it eventually. Can I just ask, are you planning to add about delivery on the website? Because that is quite a growing issue, but we all as local authorities are seeing more and more delivery of alcohol. So just real curiosity there.
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, Ms Ferry, over to you.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've added it in because it's an option, and it's what we call our whoosh delivery, which is a moped type delivery. And they go into, I guess, targeted store where there's a need in the area. So I guess that hasn't been established just yet. It's quite early, but we've put it in because it's likely to go in because that's what customers are asking for.
Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Deacon.
No further questions. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll now go to Deputy Provost Balfour.
Thanks, Provost. Yeah, just a question on the parking. I see you've got some disabled spaces, ordinary spaces, and there's space for cycles. I don't see any secure spaces for motorcycles. like somewhere somebody could put their motorcycle and chain it up, because they're not going to fit in the cycle bay. Is that something that could be considered?
Ms Ferry?
I'll certainly refer that to the property team who deal with the development as such. You're correct that motorcycles wouldn't fit in the cycle storage, which is actually covered. So, you know, it may be, you know, as the project develops, there can be tweaks. So, you know, this is something that I can certainly feed back to them and we can ask about.
Okay, that's all just now. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Provost. Barbara, any other questions? No. I'm now go to Ellis Ofer. Any comment? Mr Ross?
Thanks, Convener. As has already been described, it's just a vacant site at the minute, so we've been unable to go along and see any buildings or any layouts. Just to clarify, the notices have been up on display. We've checked them, so we're on site looking at them, and neighbour notifications have been sent out to 5 separate properties, all within the 4 metre boundary of the site, and it's been on display on the website as the agent has suggested. Apart from that, Convener, no adverse comments to make.
Thank you very much, Mr Ross. I'll just go to Sergeant Macy if he's got any comments. So he's not here. Oh, it's okay. I don't think he would have to vote. Okay, we'll just leave him out for a moment. It's okay. Okay, so we've heard the submission and we've had some questions asked. I think it's a it's a great application, and I've often wondered what was going to happen with that site, and I think it will be a good addition to the area, and certainly welcome 250 jobs to the area. That's certainly boost the economy. There are no objections from the police or from anyone else, and neighbours have been notified, so I don't have any particular issues, and you are going to be involved in local groups as Tesco does, and there's never usually any issues with Tesco applications or well-run establishments, as we all know. So with that, I'm minded to grant the application. Is anyone otherwise minded?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Application. Councillor Kerr.
Just, I'm totally in agreement with the rest of the board, but I think it would be appropriate when the building's built for the board to go and visit the premises, just so we're happy with the layout and everything that's in it.
Okay, would that be something we could do, Ms Ferry?
Yes, that will certainly be, that can be facilitated. Just to emphasise, of course, that there will be a building warrant application which will go through the normal process, and you know, the building will be built in accordance with the requirements of the Building Scotland Act, but we can certainly facilitate a visit as and when your honours wish to visit. And just one point, Hardish has pointed out to me that apparently I said there would be 250 staff, which clearly isn't correct. It should be 20 to 25. I apologise for that error.
Oh my God, you've just deflated me.
Sorry about that.
Okay, well, 25 jobs is better than no jobs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
obviously I can't read properly.
Okay. So we'll now go to Mr Douglas to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost. Can confirm that the application for the provisional grant of a premises licence for Tesco Express at Units 4 and 5, New Local Centre, Bellsdyke Road, Larbert, has been agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Douglas.
Thank you, your honours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item of business is agenda item 6, applications for non-minor variations to premises licenses pages 42 to 45. The first one is Premier Bowness Convenience Store, 42 Bowmains Road, Bowness, and it's pages 46 to 65 on your agenda. I did think. I did. It's hard on me. Yes. Good morning, Mr. Emsley.
How are we?
Very well, thank you. Okay, would you like to identify yourself?
Gordon Emsley, representing Bowness Convenience Store.
And have you received a copy of the report? Mr. Douglas, would you like to present the report, please?
Thank you, Provost, and good morning, Mr. Emsley, Sergeant O'Meara. Members, these next two items on the agenda relate to two premises licences that have already been granted by the board previously, and the applicant is looking to make variations to the premises licences. Members will be aware that where the type of variation sought doesn't fall within the definition of minor, then it falls to the board to make the determination, and this is the case for the applications this morning. The first application before members refers to the Premier Bowness Convenience Store, which is situated at 42 Bowmans Road in Bowness. And as you can see, Mr. Emsley is with us this morning and is representing the licence holder. There was no reason to carry out a site visit to these premises as there was no policy triggers. And the second application relates to the Cairn Works, which is located in Bank Street in the Falkirktown Centre. And Mr. McIver is with us this morning and representing the licence holder, and is just sitting to the back of me just now. A site visit was undertaken in respect of this matter, and I'll comment on this later on in the report. In terms of notification of the applications, as per our normal practices, both applications were notified to our various stakeholders, and a notice was displayed on each of the premises, and we received confirmation that it had been properly displayed for the full period. In terms of consideration of matters, Section 30 of the Act applies, and if the board need to consider when any of the statutory grounds for refusal apply, and if none of them applies, then the board must grant the applications, but if any of them apply, then the board must refuse the applications. So, turning to the first application for a non-minor variation, it's the Premier Convenience Store, which, as I said, is located at 42 Bowmans Road in Bowness. The applicant is ISNA Trading Limited, and they're represented this morning by Mr. Gordon Emsley. Details of the application can be found at Appendix 1 in the agenda pack, which is page 46. The premises is a shop that sells food and non-food items with a cafe, and is situated within a petrol filling station and is in a predominantly residential commercial area. Can confirm that no objections or representations have been received in respect of this matter. Site notice was properly displayed and confirmation received. In terms of the non-minor variation, the applicant has requested the addition of home delivery of food and alcohol to be added to the list of any other activities. And you'll see from the agenda pack that the home delivery policy is attached as Appendix 1E to the report, and this can be found on page 65 of the agenda pack. I'll pause at the moment. Provost, thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Douglas, and it's a bit remiss of me not to welcome Sergeant O'Meara to the board, so my apologies for that. So, Mr. Emsley, would you like to address the board, please?
Thank you, Your Honours. If I just could correct something Mr. Douglas says, it isn't a petrol filling station and it doesn't have a cafe. So I don't know in the description. So that part of it's a small convenience store that doesn't have those extra bits and pieces. So, my clients have been doing home delivery through Snappy Shopper during the pandemic, and obviously when the extension expired at the end of September last year, they're duty bound under Falkirk's policy to come forward and add home delivery of food and alcohol to the licence, which we're doing today. There have been no complications or challenges, both from the licence standard officer or officers during that period of time. It serves a very, very small part of Bowness. It's not a huge part of their business as officers and members may be aware, there probably are a number of licensed premises now that may not be as proactive coming forward because the big rush that happened during the pandemic is maybe not as economically viable. However, for Mr Musa, this still is. Straightforward policies is listed, it's handheld terminal. Members are aware of Snappy Shopper as a service provider, and we would move to grant because we don't perceive it to be any risk, Your Honours.
Thanks very much, Mr Emsley. I'll now go to members to see if they've got any questions. Councillor Steinbach.
Thank you. It's nothing to do with the substantive licence. It's just in relation to the home delivery process, Appendix 1E. I just seek some clarification on the 4th bullet point and the ordinary meaning. I think it may imply that on the home delivery process, customers might have to prove they're over the age of 25. So perhaps just seeking some clarification on whether the applicant could explain the meaning or otherwise just rewrite that section of the policy so it makes a wee bit more sense.
Mr Emsley.
Yes, Your Honour, I just need to clarify that. It's proven using challenge 25 to prove they're over the age of 18, so it's a wording issue. I'll readdress that wording issue and resubmit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Now go to the LSO for any comment.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. No comments to make to the application.
Thank you. Sergeant O'Meara, do you have any comments?
Morning, Chair. Thank you. No adverse comment from Police Scotland. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. A fairly straightforward application. Just a change to the home delivery, an addition of home delivery. There are no particular issues apart from point 4, which will be amended. So I'm minded to grant the application. Is anyone otherwise minded?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Mr Douglas, would you like to summarise, please?
Thank you, Provost. I can confirm that the application for a non-minor variation to the Premier Convenience Store in Bowmains Road, Bowness, as detailed in the report, has been agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Douglas. The next item is...
Thank you, Your Honour.
Thank you, Mr Emsley. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honours.
So we have Mr McIver and...
It's Mr Macaulay, the manager from the premises, and also the area manager, Mary Ramsey, is somewhere out in cyberspace over to your right, Your Honours.
So the next item of business is the Karen Watts, Bank Street, Falkirk, pages 66 to 84 on your agenda papers. Have you received a copy of the report?
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to address the board?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, my apologies, I'm getting ahead of myself. Mr Douglas, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Provost. If it's okay with the board, I'll just move to the substance of the non-minor variation itself as opposed to summarising the preface report again. So moving on to the second application here, it's the Karen Works, which is located in Bank Street in the Falkirk Town Centre. The applicant is JD Witherspoon Scott Limited, and they're represented by the agent, Mr McIver, this morning. And also they're represented with the DPM, Mr Macaulay, who's sitting beside Mr McIver. Details of the application can be found Appendix 2 on page 66 of the agenda pack that members have this morning. The premises are located in a detached building in Falkirk Town Centre, which is close to residential premises. The premises itself comprise of a lounge bar area, kitchen and cold store on the ground floor with male and female toilet, staff room and toilet on the first floor. No objections or representations have been received in relation to this matter, and I can confirm that the site notice was properly displayed and confirmation received. The applicant proposes to increase the times during which children and young persons will be allowed entry to the premises. And it's proposed that the times change from the current position of children and young persons must have vacated the premises by 9 PM on a Friday and Saturday, and 10 PM on a Sunday to Thursday too, that they must vacate the premises by 10 PM each night. So just a regularisation of the hours. I can confirm that a site visit took place by the board members on the 8th of June, which I think all members in attendance found very, very useful. And we had a good chat with the DPM, Mr Macaulay, at the site visit. Members are reminded in terms of the board's policy position regarding the appropriateness of a premises in terms of children and young persons, that the board will consider each application on its own merits, having regard to, and you'll see from the report itself that there's various bullet points here ranging from the location of the premises, nature of the premises and customer profile, activities in the premises, food provision, location of toilets within the premises, location of bar services, entertainment functions, specific provision for children such as children's menu, etc., and the ratio of seating to standing customers. And I'll pause for breath at that moment. Thank you, Provost.
Thanks very much, Mr Douglas. Now to Mr McIver to address the board.
Yes, thank you, Your Honours. Mr Douglas has summarised the situation perfectly, of course. For the past 7 or 8 years, roughly speaking, the premises have enjoyed children and young persons access to 10 p.m, but only from Sundays through to Thursdays. Fridays and Saturdays, it's been 9 p.m. Now, at the time that decision was taken by your predecessors, I think there was a concern that maybe the clientele on a Friday and a Saturday might be slightly different from the earlier part of the week. Hence, there was that hours differential with regard to the weekend and weekdays. Since the premises have been enjoying these hours, a couple of points that are worthy of mention. First of all, they have operated perfectly satisfactorily. May I say there's been no issues, as I understand it, with children and young persons and the like. But secondly, the nature of the clientele throughout the week has actually changed. It's become, in many instances, more family related. The food sales have increased exponentially along with the soft drink sales. Conversely, the alcohol sales have actually gone down a wee bit. So it's maybe a sign of the times, a sign of the changing approach to the way that people view these premises. It's really what we're looking to do now is bring the 10 p.m. in across the entire week. The premises have a full menu, they have a children's menu, food is available more or less from the minute they open till pretty much when they close. I think the kitchens close at 11 o'clock, but clearly food is still, or last orders I should say, are taken at 11 o'clock and food still comes out thereafter. We have a steward on the door on Fridays and Saturdays, which arguably we don't really need in terms of disorder, but nonetheless we accept that it's better to have a deterrent in case one is required. And all in all, they have proved themselves to be very, very popular. And I think certainly when you factor in events at Callender Park and the like, the 9 p.m. at the weekend is just that little bit too early for closing. You're finding that people are coming midweek, enjoying it, coming back at the weekend, and as opposed to during the week when we're saying, yes, you can sit there till 10, they come in with their children on a Friday or a Saturday, and as it comes up to 9 o'clock, they're being told, sorry, you need to go. Effectively, last orders for a 9 o'clock cessation is 8 o'clock, really, to allow the kitchen to produce the food. So against that background, against the fact there are no objections, Your Honours, I would hope you would find favour with the application.
Thanks very much, Mr McIver. We'll now go to members for any questions. Councillor Deakin.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the hosting us for that visit. It was actually quite informative. One question I do have is, how many tables do you have set up and how many people can you accept for food at any one time?
So basically we've got at least 64 tables inside, and then we've got the majority outside as well. So we've obviously got beer garden seating area, and the table plan has been changed since lockdown. So we've made it more family orientated. We've created more space for people come with buggies, prams at the very entrance to the door, and we've moved sort of more drinking and high tables right close to our bar area, just to make that sort of more easier. We've created bigger tables, groups of 6 and groups of 8, in certain areas closer to the door area, just to make it that easier for people come in with large groups of families, etc.
I think just more on the point, how many people do you estimate would be able to eat in one time in there? Like numbers, rough figures. I don't think you would have the exact number.
Yeah, I think it's all dependent on what type of day. But a prime example on a Saturday, we could at least maybe have 80 to 90 people eating like at any one time. And then obviously you spread it across, you could have that maybe as a group of 15 families at one time, and then obviously couples and different, obviously older generation come in as well. So it does vary quite a bit. And as I say, our food sales are on increase, soft drinks on increase, and our drink sales are slightly dipping. And you can see that people are coming in and rather than having alcohol with their food, and I've even got kids when they're sitting having their soft drinks or having a coffee, having a tea, because we offer the free refills as well, which is quite appealing for people coming with their families.
Thank you very much. No further questions from myself.
Thanks, Councillor Deacon. I'll now go to Councillor Steenbank.
Thanks, convener, and yeah, thanks for the site visit. I think it was very helpful for those of us who attended. I'm just looking and I'm just trying to get an understanding of the interaction of an earlier part of the policy, which is young persons will be allowed entry to the premises unaccompanied at the management's discretion. Could you give me an idea of how that discretion's been utilised, perhaps a recent example?
Mr. McIver.
Thank you, Your Honour. This is standard throughout the Wetherspoons estate, Your Honour, and effectively it comes down to management and staff keeping an eye on who is coming in. And on a Friday and Saturday, that would of course include the door steward doing that also. And really what they are not, when they exercise that discretion, is if the people are maybe boisterous, look as though they might be troublesome, they will not get in. It's a judgment call, to be honest with you. There's, at the end of the day, but it's really to ensure that the people that are going to come in are not going to cause trouble or not cause disturbance to the people that are in enjoying their evening at Wetherspoons. It's very much a judgment call, Your Honour.
Thanks very much. That was a very thorough explanation. Is there a final admittance time for children and young persons to help enforce this policy?
An hour before the terminal hour for them being on the premises. So if it's 8 o'clock, very last time they'd be allowed in would be, sorry, if it's 9 o'clock, I beg your pardon, very last time they'd be allowed in would be 8 o'clock. If it was 10 o'clock, very last time they'd be in would be 9 o'clock.
Thank you very much. How will tables with children and young persons be informed about the time they need to vacate, and who takes responsibility on the premises for informing them? I'm getting a wee bit of feedback, sorry, I hope you could hear that.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, basically two things. First of all, the staff are aware of obviously the times for children and young persons to be on the premises. 15 minutes before they are due to vacate the premises, they're given a polite reminder by members of staff that it's approaching 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever it may be, and they will have to leave in 15 minutes. Yeah, that's effectively how it's managed, Your Honour.
Thank you, convener.
Thanks, Councillor Steenbank. Any other questions? Well, Councillor Kerr, my apologies.
Thanks, Provost. Probably not a question, more of an observation. And I don't know if I come into the category of being the older generation, but I frequent the premises, no regular, but now and again, and have enjoyed a meal. It's a very well run establishment, as all the Wetherspoon premises are. And I'm happy with Ms McIver's summing up. Thanks, Provost.
Thanks very much, Councillor Kerr. Any other questions? No. Now go to Ellie Shaw for comment.
Thank you. No comments to make in the application.
Thank you. Sergeant O'Mee?
No adverse comment from Police Scotland, thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've heard most of the questions that were asked have been answered quite diligently, and as Councillor Kerr says, a well-run establishment, there's never any issues, and since the last change was made, there's never been any issues. There are no objections, nothing like that. Always well-run establishments. So in this case, I'm minded to grant the application. Is anyone otherwise minded?
Agreed.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas, would you like to summarise, please?
Thank you, Provost. I can confirm the application for a non-minor variation to the Cairnbox Bank Street Falkirk is detailed in the application. The report has been agreed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honour.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair, can I request a short recess just before the next few items are kind of beefy? Can I just have 5 minutes, please?
Okay, we'll have a short recess, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're no super like. No. That was a diplomatic call, actually. So, hey, good morning. Welcome to Falkirk Council Licensing Board, and try and relax. Could you identify yourselves, please?
Hi, I'm Susan Braze.
Susan Braze. And
Mary-Ann Cochran.
thank you. Mr. Douglas, would you like to give a summary, please?
Thank you, Provost. Good morning again, ladies. Members, that the board's been asked this morning to determine an application for a personal licence for Susan Braze, who's with us this morning. Just to confirm that we received a copy of the application form in relation to the personal licence, and that's contained as Appendix 1 on page 89 of the agenda pack. The applicant has declared at question 6 on the application form that she has a conviction, a relevant conviction. And I can confirm that a copy of the current training certificate issued by Highfield, dated the 21st of September last year, has been submitted with the application and is an accredited qualification. So in terms of the notification itself, once we received a copy of the application, we have forwarded it on to the Chief Constable of Police Scotland, and we thereafter received a notice dated the 30th of May in terms of the Act. And a copy of this notice is attached as Appendix 2 on page 92 of the agenda pack. Members are reminded that in terms of the Act, where a notice has been received from the police, the Chief Constable, and it doesn't include a recommendation, then the board may hold a hearing for the purposes of considering and determining the application. In the case before members this morning, there is no recommendation from the Chief Constable to refuse the application. The Council's Licensing Standards Officer was also given notification of the application and had no comments to make. As you'll see, we have Sergeant O'May from representing the Chief Constable with us this morning, and we have Susan Braze, the applicant, in the event that the board decides to hold a hearing. Section 6 of the report gives a little bit of flavour in terms of the determination, and if no hearing is held this morning, then the application must be granted. However, if a hearing is held, then the board is required in terms of the Act to have regard to the Chief Constable's notification, and if satisfied, it's necessary to do so for the purposes of the licence objectives to refuse the application, or if it's not so satisfied, to grant